gratitude affirmation practices, and why they are for badasses, why they are badass.
Welcome to the Loveable as Fuck show with Sherry Yazzie. I am a plus-size Indigenous woman in a world that tells me not to love myself. I fucking do. Here's how I do it.
For more on how to defuck yourself, love yourself, and my emotional resiliency magnifying, life-transforming mindset hacks and self-care tools that you need to know now in order to transform your life and be happy as fuck, go to beloveableaf.com. That's BELOVEABLEAF.com.
So today we are talking about gratitude affirmation practices and why they are so badass. Because gratitude is one of those things that's easy to do and gets easier and easier the more that you do it, and actually exponentially gets you better and better results the longer you do it as well. So it's something that the payoff over time is super big. Like the payoff gets better and better and easier. Now, how often is that, right? Like think about it. If you start doing yoga and like to get a good stretch, you like barely have to do it and you're getting a great stretch. But then the longer you do it, the more stretchy your body gets, the more you have to get into these contorted poses to actually get the same level of stretch. Well, gratitude is different because once you actually start doing it, and if you do it repetitively, consistently over time, little bits of gratitude actually have a bigger impact. It's easier and easier to do. And my whole thing is basically gratitude as a way of life. So not just regular, we're getting a gratitude journal and writing it in a few times. This is literally creating a way of life. Because when it's a way of life, it's not something you have to think about. It's not something you have to put energy into. It's not something that is just another thing on your to-do list. It's something that actually permeates your entire life. And with gratitude, when it permeates your life, it is like, it's easier to be happy, have fun, enjoy life. You are celebrating your accomplishments. You are creating yourself to continue to look for the successes, to continue to look for the things that went right. Like, can you imagine? Whoa. So let me give you an example. I was reading this in an email and I was like, oh my gosh, thank you for explaining this. I had never really understood why it was this way. So have you ever gone car shopping for a different kind of car than you currently have? And then after that, everywhere you go, you see that kind of car. I remember the first time we bought, it was a Dodge Caravan, and it was white. And I had never really noticed them anywhere. And then after we went shopping for one, I saw them everywhere, literally everywhere I went, they were. And it was like, okay, so were these here before and I didn't notice them? Or did everybody just barely buy a Dodge Caravan? Like, what happened here, right? And not just Dodge, not just a Caravan, but a white one. Because everywhere I went, I found white Caravans. I was like, if someone's trying to have a getaway vehicle in this area, a white Dodge Caravan is the way to go because there's like a million of them. But what I didn't realize was happening was my brain, because I was focusing on it, then showed it to me all over the place. Okay. So I talk about this a lot. I talk about this with cognitive dissonance, because our brain and our belief work, right? I talk about it with our beliefs. Our brain is always showing us things to reinforce our beliefs. Our brain is always filtering things, right? Because we get so many inputs all the time, all day long. If all of those inputs made it to our conscious mind, we would be cuckoo crazy. So our brain, the lovely thing that it is, it filters out a whole bunch of data, a whole bunch of stuff all the time. And how it figures out what to focus on is what you believe, and it helps you. So your beliefs actually then are reinforced by what your brain is showing you. Literally, you can have a completely opposite experience at the same time. So I went to Disneyland years ago, and I was like, it was magical. It was so amazing. We had this moment, and it's still one of my favorite memories and one of my son's favorite memories. We were on the Silly Symphony swings, and over in Disneyland, they were shooting up the fireworks. And because we were up in the swings, we could see them. And, we had the music going and we were coming out around, and it was just the most magical moment. And that trip, that whole thing felt just like that. Well, at the same time, I ended up coming home and I had posted some stuff on Facebook about the trip, and someone else posted some posted about their Disneyland trip, and their experience was wildly different. They pointed out that like they just had a bunch of run-ins with parents treating their kids really poorly, borderline abusive. And basically that it wasn't the happiest place on earth. It was like, and I was like, wow. I mean, we were there at the same time. Like, it wasn't like we were both there for like several days the same week. I'm like, okay, so we were there at the same time. We had wildly different experiences. Was it that, why was that? Why was it so different? And it literally was because I have actively trained myself to look for the magic, to look for the fun, to look for the success, to celebrate it, to feel it, to revel in it, swimming around in it till my fingers get all pruny. I have trained myself to do that. Does that mean that I miss some of the negative things? It does. I actually do. Sometimes I do. Obviously, when it's up in my face, because I stand up for things that matter to me, I do something about it. But a lot of things do move. It's just like my brain doesn't even tune into it anymore. So you can be at the same place having wildly different experiences. I've had this happen at dinner. It's like where my meal is perfect. The waiter has brought out my stuff fast and it's been hot and amazing. And the same table, someone who has like a different story about restaurants and being served, they are like, their stuff is getting delayed. It's not right. It's not good. It's not hot. And it's like, we're at the same table even, right? So our beliefs are so powerful, and it impacts the experiences that we have, whether it's what we ordered, right? Maybe my order was easier or whatever reason, and I had wildly different experiences than this person did. And so our brains are continually doing this for us all the time. And that's why gratitude is so important. That's why celebrating the things that you're doing, the things that you have done, the things that you are accomplishing is so important, because when you show your brain and consistently do it over time. So this isn't buy a gratitude book, a journal, and write in it like 5 times. That's not going to do it. That will give you a small boost. Writing in your gratitude journal 5 different days is actually going to give you a small boost, but it won't actually start changing anything, right? So what I had to do was create a whole gratitude routine, and I did it religiously for a month. 2 months. And then it was like the most magical thing happened. I don't have an intense gratitude routine. I don't have a whole big thing that I do anymore. Literally, I am grateful day in, day out, morning, noon, night. I'm looking for those celebrations. I'm looking for those things. And occasionally I will get the message of like, hey, are you looking for the gratitude and appreciation in your marriage? Are you looking for the gratitude and appreciation with your child? Or are you kind of looking for, what they're not doing, how it's not going right, in your business, whatever it is, right? And it was like, sometimes I still get into that. But the cool thing is, once you've laid that groundwork of truly having a radical gratitude foundation, then what happens is it's so much easier to just go, oh yeah, whoops, I strayed just a little bit, because our human nature actually does this. No matter how good it is or how bad it is, our nature to survive as humans is to kind of not tune in to how good or how bad it is. It's like humans can be in really rough places and get used to it. But the same thing is true when we have amazing things happen, we can get used to it as well. So gratitude is actually the thing that helps us to combat that, so that we don't take our wonderful relationships for granted, so we don't take money rolling into our account for granted, so we don't take for granted how we're holding it down as moms and partners and friends, because the more that we take that for granted, the easier it is to have your relationship in danger, right? Like if you are taking your relationship for granted, you're not tuning into all the wonderful things and only into the bad things. What do you think that provides in your relationship? What do you think that creates in your relationship? Versus And this is not about so just for a second here, this is not about sticking your head in the sand and pretending things are okay. This is actually gratitude for the things that you are grateful for, at the same time of calling out and communicating and being clear on what isn't working for you, what you don't want anymore, what is not fitting for you anymore, what's not working. So you get to do it at the same time. But what gratitude does is it actually trains you to start looking for the best in your relationships, for the best in your kids, for the best in your job, for the things that you have succeeded at, for the things that you can celebrate. And the more you do that, guess what happens? Your brain is then hunting for more successes. It's going to help pave the way to create more successes, whether it's in your relationship, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your momming. You will be paving the way of your success by celebrating and feeling grateful now. How fucking cool is that, you guys? Like, seriously, this is the most badass shit ever. And gratitude was the start for me. It was the very first thing. It was the thing that had me get to a place where I felt good enough. I had enough window of tolerance, if you will, to actually start working on my beliefs, to actually start getting in there. Because the reality is, okay, why doesn't everybody do belief work? Why is not everybody who's like, they want this and it's not happening, why are they not doing the belief work? Well, I will tell you. Because it's not fucking easy. It's something that you actually, without a guided process, it's actually can take a lot of time and a lot of tests and a lot of screw ups and a lot of turmoil. Even when you have a guided process, you have to be willing to commit to it and to keep going even when it's uncomfortable, because it can be uncomfortable. These beliefs are freaking braided into who we are, who we think we are. I thought who I was as a person was just kind of low energy and depressed. I absolutely thought that's who I was. There was no differentiating who I was with that. I thought it's who I was. And when I found that it was actually a belief and that it was actually a pattern that was protecting me, that was a very uncomfortable moment to understand that I actually was different. When I realized that that's not actually who I was, that was a whole process. And then starting to live my life as this energetic, happy, cheerful woman was fucking weird. It was weird for me. It was weird for my relationships. It was weird for the people who loved me. So it's not like it's just super simple. And it's not like there aren't losses along the way. It's about deciding who you want to be, though, because it's worth it. It's worth it to be you, full out, unapologetic, not having to apologize for just who you are anymore, for really, truly finding the joy and the gratitude and the amazement inside of yourself, not needing it from outside. That for me was so worth it. It was so worth some of the relationships that have fallen away. It was so worth it because now the relationships that I have are that much deeper, are that much more connected. And I just have a very different standard for myself. And it all started with gratitude. All of this for me, because I had to increase that window, right? Because if you're just hanging on by the barest thread and trying to do some of this work, that's a rough go. But if you have used that gratitude to get yourself into a place where you have more window of tolerance to actually work on this stuff, to actually really get in there and trust the process and do the work, that's like how for me it actually worked. Like I had to have that gratitude first, focusing on the good stuff, because it's very simple, and so many people think, oh yeah, whatever, okay, yeah, I know, I saw Oprah that time and she talked about how great gratitude was, and yeah. And then someone like really rich or famous will talk about how amazing gratitude is, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, that's right, gratitude, But it's actually, you won't find the payoffs to it unless you do it consistently. So 5 days is going to give you a little boost, but then 5 weeks is going to actually start a shift. 5 months is going to change your life. You're going to be this gratitude, success-seeking person naturally. It actually starts shifting things. And I have kind of shied away from talking about gratitude for a while because I felt like so many people thought it was like airy fairy, but I think it's like the most badass gangster fucking thing you can do is to look at your life and stop and appreciate any bit of it that is going the way that you want it to. You know, people talk about like what you focus on grows. And gratitude is a really, really stellar way to focus on the parts of your life that are working. It doesn't mean we pretend that the parts that aren't working are. We don't. But you just focus on the bits that are working. To me, it gave me the power to then take on the parts that weren't working, if that makes sense. So if you're wanting to figure out a gratitude practice, one of the best ways I can tell you is to get into the course, because literally over the 30 days, we absolutely do healing work, energy work around gratitude. There's an entire module on gratitude. But if you're like, okay, cool, but I want something to take away with me today, right now, then what I can recommend is in the morning, 3 things that you're grateful for, and at night, 3 things that you're grateful for. You can write it down. You can say it out loud. You can think it. Whatever really, really works for you, it's just a matter of actually doing it. So in the mornings, it's like, thank you, thank you, thank you, right? And then like, I'm grateful for this bed. I'm grateful for this cuddly man or woman. I'm grateful for the sunshine. It doesn't have to be this big extreme thing. Just find anything that's working, anything that you're liking, and say yes to it. And at night, 3 things that you're grateful for. The same kind of thing, you know. I actually recommend focusing on what went right today. So, okay? So, you know, like, I'm grateful I was able to record this podcast. I'm grateful I was able to be on another woman's show today. I am grateful that I got to work out with my husband today and how fun that was. Okay? So just simple things, right? And if you're like, okay, but I'm struggling on any kind of thing, I'm grateful that my heart is beating. I'm grateful that I can wiggle my fingers if you can wiggle your fingers. And if you can't wiggle your fingers, I'm grateful for whatever it is. Maybe I can wiggle my head. Like, any little bit that actually works. That's what we're looking for here, because it's just training our brains to actually start looking for more of what could work and what will work. All right. So in case nobody has told you yet today, you are lovable as fuck just the way you are.
To send me your questions or stories, email me at lovableafshow@gmail.com. If you loved the show, please comment, like, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And if you're listening on the podcast, please leave a review and subscribe to help me get this show in front of more women who need to know that they are lovable as fuck just as they are. Check out the show notes or go to belovableaf.com. That's belovableaf.com for more of how to unfuck yourself, love yourself, and be happy no matter your size. I said it before and I will say it again. You are lovable as fuck just as you are.